Hello, everybody. My name is Jason, joined by John, Three Geeks PVD collaboration. We are joined by Kat from the podcast Calling Old Hollywood. How are you doing today, Kat?
Hi, I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Higher life.
Wonderful. Just kind of day by day in this crazy world right now.
Yeah. How is your situation with COVID where you're at?
Oh my goodness. So I'm like in the middle of Hollywood, and it is. It's like a movie. It's like a movie. It's a very post-apocalyptic kind of vibes going on right now.
Well, yeah. you also have the fires too out in California that's causing issues too. So you got like a double whammy.
Yes, it is. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy enough because we're going outside and we're wearing masks because of the pandemic, but now it's even twice as hard to breathe outside because we have like smoke and all this stuff going through the air. So it's really crazy. Just never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I've heard about the things going on over there. It is nuts. I can't believe you guys have. It just seems like 2020 just keeps rolling something new our way every time we get somewhat used to whatever just happened. We get something new.
True. It's true, but there is a plus. They canceled the Kardashians, so it's not not all bad.
Here you go. You're the fifth person I've heard say that in the last few days. So that ought to be an indictment of how bad your show is.
Well, somebody's watching it.
I mean, seriously, I've not heard one person be like, "Oh, I'm so sad. There's no more Kardashians." Like, no one has said that.
I can't believe they were on for so long. It's just crazy. So that's a win in my book.
So, Kat, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm an alien from. No, just kidding. I am. I'm 26, and I mean, I've had quite the journey. It started with music and performing, and I had a lot of wonderful things happen with that. And then when I was on tour, and I was in New York last January, 2019. Totally fell in love with it, but I had this really crazy experience surrounding James Dean, and that really kicked the floodgates for old Hollywood, and the podcast was born months after that, just kind of feeling like, wow, I need to do something with this, So it's been really interesting, from music to acting to film to podcasts, and it's been a journey.
So one of the things that I read about you was that you started off acting at a very young age, around 8 years old, correct?
Yes. Yeah. My mother, I was such a shy kid, and my mom, she put me in acting classes to try to bring me out of my shell, kind of get me out of there. And it worked. It worked.
Well, your acting coach, Michael Rainey, am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. Mm-hmm. How did he approach the skill and the art of acting? Like, can you tell us a little bit about some of the training and some of the techniques he would use with you or with other individuals?
Yeah. So as a kid, it was one of these things like, because I was so young, and it was everybody else in the class was around my age too. So it was like kind of like a kid's class, and we would go to this theater, and we were doing all these kind of it's been so long ago now, but we would do all these kind of like different exercises with speeches, from speeches to like focusing on body language, just the way that we were delivering things. Cause it was a lot of like, it was musicals that we were doing. So it would be like, we also had a vocal coach that was there. So we would do like vocal exercises and then acting exercises, just to kind of like, practice our craft.
Okay. So it was obviously it was a good idea for your mom to enroll you in those classes. I
couldn't, when I look back and I think about it, I'm like, that is such a creative thing to do with a shy kid, mm-hmm. is to put them in something like that, and it kind of forces them to be open around other people, and it definitely worked. So yeah.
So go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
I want to hear about how you got started with your podcast, because I'm huge into movies and film, and I've started going back. I recently watched the original Frankenstein and Dracula and all of those movies from back then. What made you decide to get into talking about old Hollywood?
Oh, I love that question so much. So when I had this serendipitous kind of experience surrounding James Dean, it like so my I guess I have to go back a second. You know, I've loved old Hollywood since I was a kid. My parents raised me on like Shirley Temple films and the comedy of like Red Skelton. You know, I was like a little kid watching, you know, these things from way back when. And so it was, I never thought it was weird. It was just like, or not weird, but old. It was just part of, you know, it was what was on TV in the house. So I've always loved it. But yeah, it kind of resurrected, if you will, with the whole James Dean thing. I lived in his apartment for a while in New York, and that was really, I just couldn't believe, I don't know, it had such a profound impact on me, and I just thought, wow, you know, I need to follow this more, and it just kind of consumed me. I ended up meeting his family, and I ended up being friends of his, and they would tell me stories, you know, about him that obviously you're not going to read about in books. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, wow, these things really need to be shared, and they need to be told, and they need to be kept alive. And so I was thinking, like, what can I do? You know, I had no experience with podcasts or editing podcasts or anything like that. So it was totally starting from zero. But I was so compelled, and just to bring people on. I wanted to have that, but not just about James Dean, you know, about films and music and all of these people. And I wanted to do it weekly, just as my little kind of contribution to old Hollywood and to keeping these things alive. But that's where it started, definitely.
Is there any particular, I guess you could say, genre of movie from old times, from old Hollywood that you might like lean towards?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in other words, do you have a favorite genre, or do you have maybe like a least favorite genre?
I love the kind of like noir, Humphrey Bogart, big Bogart fan. You know, his films with Lauren Bacall, but just all of them, you know, that kind of stuff. I also love silent films like Buster Keaton or the Marx Brothers, things like that. Yeah, and it's just like 50s films. I love the 1950s, like Natalie Wood, Marlon Brando, that whole kind of they were so good. So it's kind of all over, I guess.
Okay.
I got a question about James Dean. So what are your thoughts about there's a studio that's going to bring James Dean back for a movie? What do you think of that? That's crazy, right?
I am not a fan. I was outraged to the point that I looked up, because, you know, being in Hollywood, I'm like, where are these people? I'm gonna go knock on their door. It's just so crazy. Yeah,
they're not casting James Dean. They're casting a weird James Dean like makeup over some other actor.
But not even just him. They want to do it with everybody. They want to do this with Marilyn Monroe and Humphrey Bogart, like all of them, you know. But they want to start with James Dean. And yeah, I just my stomach turns, you know. And I, you know, I asked Lou Bracker, who was on my podcast. He was his best friend before he died, and I said, "What do you think that he would think about this?" And Lou Bracker, he said, "I think he'd just laugh and say F him," you know. So, yeah.
I just watched Charlie Chaplin's The Kid for the first time, or second time. Sorry. That movie is extraordinary.
So good. Chaplin was, oh man, one of the greatest.
I had never seen a silent film before I saw The Kid for the first time, and just the amount of emotion that they can convey with no words.
Absolutely. That's what I love about it too. And it's like, I think about films like that in the modern day, and people seeing them, like, our attention spans have changed so much, because with silent films you really have to pay attention, because like there's no dialogue, you know, there's music and there's like the dialogue cards, but you know, it's a lost art.
Yeah, it's a good mix between comedy and drama. Like, he delivers the comedy lines and then can make you cry like an instant later. It was unbelievable, and I can't wait to dive into more of his stuff.
Yes, his whole catalog. City Lights is amazing. That's one of my favorite films. Chaplin was just incredible. Incredible.
And I will say I recently watched, and now I'm going to blank on the name because I can't remember, one of his last films, which was not a silent film, but it was a talkie, where he played the gigolo in France that went around all of France and had different families and killed some of his wives as he went along. And I can't remember what that was called.
It wasn't. Wait, I'm blanking. It wasn't the Dictator film. I can't remember right now.
I can't remember what it is either. Jason, I know you're on it, aren't you? You're on looking it up.
I'm looking it up. I just bought the Great Dictator on Criterion.
I love that, and it's super relevant for today.
You said French gigolo?
Well, he's like a Frenchman. Yeah, it takes place in France. But you know what? While you're looking that up, I'm going to ask Kat another real quick question here.
Sure.
So, you just mentioned how timely older films can be. And indeed, I've had this discussion this summer. I watched A Face in the Crowd, which even though made in 1956 or 1957, I don't remember exactly the year, but so poignant today. You look at Network from 1977 as well, very poignant for today. What do you think about when you watch a film that is so poignant for today and it's 20, 30, 40 years back? Do you feel like, sometimes I do, like, damn, these people were like thinking like way ahead of their time? Did they know something I don't know?
Yeah, it's so crazy because it's like, I think about that when whoever wrote the screenplay or, came up with the idea, the first person to come up with that plot or whatever, it's like, it's so weird. It's like it's like a needle in the haystack. I often wonder about things like that. I'm like, did they know that it was going to be like this? Did they mean for it to be timeless? Did they, try to be so versatile that it would withstand, it wouldn't age, essentially, it would stay. It's so weird to think about, it's like, I don't know if it's ever intentional or not, but I think about that a lot. It's so complex,
Yeah.
But it's so cool. I love it. Even with music, just in general, songs from back then, or even songs, 60s, 70s, 80s that are still, if you listen to them today, they sound so modern. It's crazy. I feel like that a lot with like people like David Bowie. There's some things there. I'm like, wow, this is still so damn good. Yeah.
By the way, that Chaplin film is Monsieur Verdot.
Monsieur Verdot.
Oh, that's not at all what I had. I had a woman of color.
I remembered it. I couldn't remember what the last name was, so I did. I Googled Charlie Chaplin Monsieur, and that's the one. But it's very good. It's very, very, it's got perfect blend of drama and comedy, and it's unique to see him talking, because that was the big thing for me. I'm like, I'm used to him as being a silent film star. So
yeah, it's on HBO Max, which again, HBO Max seems to have the best backlog of catalog that's not Criterion, as far as old movies go. But Psycho just released an extended cut. Have you heard about that?
Yes. We're doing not for the extended cut, but I'm doing a little giveaway with Universal, because they are going to release the Alfred Hitchcock Classics collection. So we're doing a little Psycho giveaway in lieu of that for September. But nice. I love that film. Oh my gosh, I did a podcast the other week with Constance Towers, and she was an incredible actress, but she was married to John Gavin, who was in Psycho. And so we talked about that a lot. That was really cool.
Yeah, Psycho is one of my favorite movies, and I think Psycho 2 is a very underrated sequel.
I haven't seen a sequel.
Really? The second one's not bad. It's a very interesting take.
That's amazing. I know. I love it. I went to Universal Studios in Hollywood, and I always think it's funny when you do the little kind of like tour where you can see the back lot, and the Psycho house is right next to How the Grinch Stole Christmas set. They're like neighbors. I'm like, that is ridiculous. It's funny.
Well, can I get your opinion, Kat? Because we've talked a little bit about HBO Max and DVDs and streaming and whatnot. Do you feel that it'll ever go out of style to go to the theater? Because I'm somebody that loves to go to the theater.
I hope not. I think, films are such an experience, and there's nothing like going to the theater, getting popcorn, sitting in a room full of people and experiencing the same cinematic venture together. You know, it's just so, and I miss it. I miss it in this pandemic.
Yeah, my family doesn't understand why every time Back to the Future comes to the big screen, I go see it. Because, again, it's nothing like going to the big screen and watching it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's any film. It's like, you know, and especially other films like Star Wars, you know, like you could bet I'm going to be there in 3D. Like, you know, it's that kind of, there's things that it's just like no exception. It's like, you know, you're obligated. I don't know. That's how I feel. There's just certain things you can't not see in theaters. They're too big for a small screen.
Yeah, most definitely.
Totally.
Just to ask another quick question here, since we've talked about Charlie Chaplin and we've talked about some great actors. Kat, who do you think are going to be the actors and actresses we talk about fondly 20 years from now?
That's a great question. And this might be this overrated or underrated. The first person that comes to mind is Robert Pattinson. I know it's a crazy thing to say now, but when I look at actors or actresses, I look at people who are so versatile with the roles that they play and how in depth and how in character they get. And that is, he's one of those, you know, I can't, you know, you're going from like, I don't know if you guys saw The Lighthouse, that film with him, just so good. You know, if you can go from that to Batman to a vampire to, you know, everything else he's done, him, but also, you know, Angelina Jolie is never going out of style. I don't think she's always up there. Angelina Jolie, off the top of my head, I'm like, Seth Rogen for his comedy. I think like he's made such in the comedy world. I think about things like, I don't know, you guys remember when Superbad came out, you know, and it started this whole wave of comedies that were similar, and it kind of started that kind of thing started around that time with him. God, yeah, all that kind of comedy. But what do you think?
Seth Rogen praised in 20 years, but sadly, I think Adam Sandler is going to be the one most known for comedy in 20 years. He's going to be like Jerry Lewis hosting telethons. But Robert De Niro, probably.
Still, wait, but we talk about him now, man.
I guess that's true.
I mean,
that's why I'm thinking about like younger people.
I'm gonna throw it out there because I do really appreciate, and I get made fun of, but I think Ryan Gosling is the best American actor right now.
I like Ryan Gosling a lot. Yeah, he's good too.
Yes. I think he by far is heads and tails above all the other male actors. Female actresses, I don't know. That's a great question. Jason, do you have any? I mean,
Chadwick Boseman is going to be one.
Yes, Chadwick Boseman will be. Yes, most definitely. For a career that was cut way short.
In the vein of James Dean, I think.
Jason, do you have anybody else besides Chadwick?
I'm thinking.
Rachel McAdams is a good one, or like Scarlett Johansson.
Yes, Scarlett Johansson. I was also thinking too of
Alicia
Chloe
Vikander.
Grace. What?
Alicia Vikander.
Yes. I was gonna go Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah, she was in a really good movie recently. I can't remember what it was called. I can't, but it was really good. I have to Google it because I'm failing like you did, John.
I know. Well, that's okay. You go ahead and do that. So I'll ask Kat another challenging question. So, if you were stranded on an island, what five Golden Age movies would you have with you?
Oh, okay. Off the top, Casablanca, absolutely. Okay. East of Eden. Boy, probably City Lights. It's Chaplin. Animal Crackers, Marx Brothers. And then let's mix it up a little bit and do The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Which was a 1920, was it 1921 or 1929? Something like that. It was a silent horror film. And a lot of people It's one of those very art house films, but it's where Tim Burton basically ripped off Edward Scissorhands and other characters for his films. If you watch that film, and it's a silent film, it's a German expressionist 1920s, you know, and you watch it and you immediately, and Tim Burton has talked about it, but as soon as you see it, you just go, oh, he blatantly ripped this off, like the characters. And they even look similar and everything. It's crazy. When I saw it, I was like, wow, okay. You know.
Okay.
The movie was Greta.
What was that?
The movie was called Greta with Chloe Grace Moretz. That was just outstanding.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I've heard about it. I just didn't. I've never seen it either.
Yeah, it was really good. But if I just recently got into Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
Are you fans of theirs?
I like Abbott and Costello a lot.
Which movie of theirs would you start with?
They are super, and how would I put it? Like, they're another, like, when you go with like Laurel and Hardy, I think Abbott and Costello were a bit, you know, they were more mainstream than Laurel and Hardy-ish, but and The Mummy, Invisible Man was good.
Okay.
I like the kind of like more like horror-y, like comedy type stuff that they did. I like that kind of humor. They were amazing. I loved when people, that's the thing about back then, you know, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers. It was like teams of, you know, it was like, and they had all these films together. I loved that. I wish that they still did that.
Is there any film that you feel is maybe slightly overrated?
I mean, like a modern day or a golden age kind of thing?
Let's go golden age.
Shoot. I'm very biased. I don't like Marlon Brando. So maybe Streetcar Named Desire.
That's okay. You know what? I appreciate that, Kat, because there's so many people that won't, like, they'll be like, no, I love everything, and that's crap. There's no way you like every single thing that comes out.
Yes. No, I don't know what it is about Marlon Brando, but I don't know. You know, I love, and he's like the only person really from back then that I just couldn't, I don't know. I just couldn't get on that bandwagon, you know?
I can't get on the David Lynch bandwagon, so I understand.
That's what I was just about to ask her. I was trying to see like how far she went. Are you a David Lynch fan or not?
Yeah, I like David Lynch. I go, yeah, not just like 50s, but like 60s, 70s. I'm less versed in 60s, 70s, and 80s, but there are definitely some like really cool films that I do know about from around those decades. So yeah, I mean, I love Shining is one of my favorite films. Oh yeah. You know,
that's another one. When it's at the theaters, I have to go see.
Yeah,
I took my whole family to see it, kids and all. We all enjoyed it.
You say that until the kids have nightmares.
That's what the lady at the ticket counter. She's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "They've already seen it like 6 times at home. They're fine."
Yes.
Hey, wait a minute. So that lady was a better theater employee.
She just said, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure?
I'm teaching my kids about film, John.
Well, I'm just saying, you know the story about me and RoboCop, so I'm just like, I applaud
I'm not
that.
taking them to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm just saying, I applaud that theater worker for questioning what you were doing with those kids.
My kids are more excited about Dr. Sleep than I was when it came out.
Yes, I love it. So that's one of my favorite, probably maybe like my second or third favorite horror film ever. I love The Shining.
Do you have any advice for new podcasters?
Ooh, just do it. Just do it. You know, that's it. Because I swear, when I did it, I think I had a prep time of maybe 3 weeks. It was literally, you know, I was like it wouldn't leave my mind. I'm going, man, what can I do to contribute to old Hollywood? What can I do? What can I do? One day it just kind of popped in my head, podcast. And I'm like, and so it took a few weeks to come up with a name. I watched YouTube videos. I did some research on how to do it all, you know. And then I just went for it. And you know, I started just interviewing friends, you know, who were familiar with that time or whatever. And it's grown into like, you know, oh my gosh, the people that I've had on have been amazing. I can't believe what it's turning into, you know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I was socially awkward, like extremely, when we started the podcast. So whenever the mic would turn on, like if you go back and watch the beginnings of the Three Geeks podcast, we were horrible, but we just kept releasing them because we wanted people to see the growth. And now, you know, we're on a podcast chatting with you, and I'm Chatty Cathy. I'm no longer the shy, timid, I need to take a shot of something real quick so I can talk on a microphone.
Yes, absolutely.
And I also too, with the PVD cast, which is my podcast too, Kat. I mean, I was DIY too. Like I didn't know how to do it, but I needed something creatively to just keep myself moving and keep myself grooving, so to speak. And yeah, same thing. Like I literally went to one class on how to podcast, and it was not very good. It was a waste of money, but it got me started. But yeah, I mean, and I appreciate that and respect the heck out of anybody who is DIY and just learning and putting it together and growing and building, and that's awesome.
Thank you. It's just such like a passion kind of thing. And, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere. Nobody starts at the top. You know, it's like you've got to like trial and error and learn as you go. And like Jason said, it's kind of cool even like going back and listening to earlier episodes or things, because you really hear the difference and the growth and how you've gotten better. And that's such a cool thing to be able to look back on.
Mm-hmm. If there was one dream guest you could have on the podcast, who would it be?
Stephen Bogart, Humphrey Bogart's son.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Can I ask?
Yeah, I would love to just talk to him about his dad and hear like childhood stories and things like that people haven't heard, you know, about him and about Bogey and Lauren Bacall, you know, his mom.
Okay.
I want to interview Oz Perkins or Elvis Perkins.
Yeah. Yes.
Anthony Perkins' kids. That guy fascinates me.
Oh my gosh. Who was it? My aunt was in the same elevator with him at UCLA one time. And she said that he had the like eeriest aura energy about him. But, you know, he's Anthony Hopkins. Once you've seen him as Hannibal, it's kind of hard not to, you know. But I'm sure he's
true.
a very nice person.
True, very true.
Definitely.
So do you have any upcoming episodes you'd like to plug real quick and let people know what's on tap for Calling Old Hollywood?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on when is this episode going to air? Because I've got.
Good question, Jason.
1 week from Monday.
Oh, okay, cool. So next Friday, it'll be Steven Stalier. He is an author who spent Groucho Marx's last years with him and has a lot of amazing stories. He went on to write for Dick Cavett and has close friendship with Woody Allen, and he talks about a lot of that. And then after that will be who is it? That's one of the most like the greatest that's upcoming. Bruce Valanche, who is known most for like Hollywood Squares, and you know he wrote a lot of stuff with like Bette Midler and a lot of sitcoms. That was such a fun episode. He's one of those. It's like you look him up, you're like, oh my god, him. Like that's yeah, absolutely. So that'll be a fun episode as well.
Bruce Valanche is one of the best people I've ever interviewed. John liked him so much he interviewed him twice, like in the same month.
He's so much fun, and he's such a sweetheart.
It's very funny too.
Definitely.
Even his email chains when you're trying to set up the interview are funny.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was the best part. Was the email? That was the best.
That was for me too. I was like, whoa, okay. Like you can hear the comedy coming from it. It's amazing.
Cool.
Good.
Kat, I could talk to you all day. Thank you so much for coming on. Can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Absolutely. Calling Old Hollywood. We're on Apple Podcasts, all the social media. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, callingoldhollywood.com, YouTube, all of it.
Awesome. Thanks again. I one of these days would love to get you on the main cast so that all the guys can geek out about old films with you, because I know they'd love them. But again, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks. You too. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.